native rhythm. Yours. Can you feel it? Can you dance it? Gyrate sensually with it. With the body that's yours. Syncopate ecstatically with it. With the soul that's yours. It's there. Here. Calling. Rhythming freely, natively. Behind your mind. Under your feet. Inside your wild, beating heart. Welcome to the latest floating poetry broadcast, and thank you for leaning in to show 112 in my ongoing weekly series, coming to you live from the footloose coast of Old New England. This is your poet and poetorialist Colin Goedecke, a voice for living our days more fully, more alively, more poetically. In broadcast 111, we were on the wing, celebrating the beauty and harmony and gifts of the birds that grace our world, our days, our stories, offering an homage to the great and long-lived kingdom of the birds, from their flying to their nesting to their singing, and flights of life metaphors for us around them. This week we're going dancing in varied ways, with our imaginal, emotional, and visceral bodies, slow to fast, waltzing, swinging, two-stepping, and more, across a lively dance floor of cultural commentary, poetry, inquiry, and discovery together. Allow me to lead. Poem by Victor Hernandez Cruz, La Lupe. Her voice comes out of her knees. Her fingernails are full of sound. Birds are in her lungs, which gives her gargantuan flight, a fluorescence through ether waves like ancestral Morse codes. Oriente Provincie de Cuba, her first steps. At 19, she dismantled retinas. Roosters blew themselves inside out. When she swayed by cathedrals, they folded. Guayacan trees fell to their knees. Mountains bowed with the contents. For Ayaco, she filled the horizon with kerchiefs. Gypsies danced behind her. Her bracelets were snakes. Forces were captured in her gold chains. The moon was in her silver. There were reptiles stationed in her Afro-Saboni cheeks. There were in her Asian eyes radars picking up the fingertips of the piano player, the language of the trumpet, black changos landing upon the shelf of her eyelids. She motioned in songs to live them. Her passion destroyed the container she blew up into false promises. Romantic lyrics tied her in knots, broken into pieces of kisses. She knew it was, quote, theater that you offered, a landscape hanging in the museums of desire, rows of guayaba paste, stories that, according to your point of view, salons of dried roses, illusions. Her songs became the windows of the city. In the distance, a hurt bellows from a bird locked in a radio. Classroom teacher of tropical children, reading to them native flora. A wind entered her and she flew to New York, eating the skyline. Bridges of electric lights, conduits to the House of the Saints. At the Jefferson Theater, she melted the microphone into liquid mercury, and an ambulance had to get her off the stage. She embodied in gowns, capes, dresses, necklaces, bonnets, velvet suedes, diamond-studded flowers, sequins, all through which she wanted to eat herself. She salvaged us all, but took the radiation. Each time she sang, she crossed the sea. From the Bronx, she went back to Cuba, adrift on the sails of a song. La Lupe. Thank you, Victor Hernandez Cruz, for that. Here's a piece from my poetorial peace ability for the Pyeongchang 2018 Winter Olympic Games in South Korea, 2018, which you can find all of on my site, thepoetorialist.com, all of the work from that and other poetorials. In praise of bodies that can fly through winter skies, that can take off and land without wings, hurtle at remarkable speeds down rural mountainsides, become works of art in white space. Bodies that can dance miraculously on water, race and match fluidly over scapes of crystallized water, can glide with all grace, tracing agile ways through forests and fields of moving targets. Bodies that can shine with burning spirit, purpose, passion, beyond color, culture, nation. In praise of bodies, in honor of all the various Olympians. Here's a poem by Amy Lowell, just the first section of Spring Day, Bath. The day is fresh washed and fair, and there is a smell of tulips and narcissus in the air. The sunshine pours in at the bathroom window and bores through the water in the bathtub in lathes and planes of greenish white. It cleaves the water into flaws like a jewel and cracks it to bright light. Little spots of sunshine lie on the surface of the water and dance, and the reflections wobble deliciously over the ceiling. A stir of my finger sets them whirring, reeling. I move a foot in the planes of light in the water jar. I lie back and laugh and let the green-white water, the sun-flood beryl water, flow over me. The day is almost too bright, too bare. The green water covers me from the too bright day. I will lie here a while and play with the water and the sunspots. The sky is blue and high. A crow flaps by the window, and there is a whiff of tulips and narcissus in the air. Thank you, Amy Lowell. It's a poem of mine from the northwest woods of East Hampton, New York, 1 October. La danse verte, the green dance. The lines of evergreens, youngest and smallest to oldest and tallest, on stage, en pointe, in the clear autumn light dappling through the parting clouds, in the cool autumn air flowing round their outstretched limbs, all dancing, this woodland morning, not nutcrackerly or balanchinely, just naturally, and so ecstatically, and so lightly, as if they might lift off in a breath from the earth, so ever greenly, as if to say, with their gesturing, rapturing bows, this is aliveness. And here's one from my exhibition of theater on paper, Behind the Curtain, immersive experiential theater piece. It's one of the story poems of one of the characters brought to life in that show, which has traveled around and will ideally travel around again when things calm down a bit in the world. The native who listens to the wind, who dances with the sun, the moon, drinks from clear waters, moves in silence among the deep presence of trees and animals, who honors the sacred land and his embodied ancestors, bows to beauty, lives from pure humanity. The native. I knew a young lady who was all a nativeness, wilderness of body and spirit and freeness. She was once my beloved daughter-in-law, Elise Garling, and this was a poem I wrote for her back in 2003. Elysium. I think of you dancing across a forest floor, an ancient forest, filtering morning light and the high-pointed notes of hidden birds. I think of you gliding through this sea of green forest flowing with mosses and ferns, your bare, star-stemmed body all cream and rose, mirroring the grace and joy of a doe as you move swiftly over the fragrant earth, so free and flush with life. and loveliness. Elysium. And that was sparked by a story that she told me about how she used to remove her clothes alone in the old-growth forests and the Olympic Peninsula and run through them like that. How beautiful, how innocent. This is from the Marginalian and the 1991 biography, Martha, The Life and Work of Martha Graham, by the dancer and choreographer Agnes DeMille. Well, in 1943, they say, DeMille was hired to choreograph the musical Oklahoma, which became an overnight sensation and ran for a record-setting 2,212 performances. Feeling that critics and the public had long ignored work into which she had poured her heart and soul, DeMille found herself dispirited by the sense that something she considered, quote, only fairly good was suddenly hailed as a, quote, flamboyant success. Shortly after the premiere, she met Graham, quote, in a Schraff's restaurant over a soda, for a conversation that put into perspective her gnawing grievance and offered what DeMille considered the greatest thing ever said to her. She recounts the exchange. Martha said to me very quietly, there is a vitality, a life force, an energy, a quickening that is translated through you into action, and because there is only one of you in all of time, this expression is unique. And if you block it, it will never exist through any other medium, and it will be lost. The world will not have it. It is not your business to determine how good it is, nor how valuable, nor how it compares with other expressions. It's your business to keep it yours clearly and directly, to keep the channel open. You do not even have to believe in yourself or your work. You have to keep yourself open and aware to the urges that motivate you. Keep the channel open. As for you, Agnes, you have so far used about 1/3 of your talent. But, I said, when I see my work, I take for granted what other people value in it. I see only its ineptitude, inorganic flaws, and crudities. I'm not pleased or satisfied. No artist is pleased. But then there is no satisfaction. No satisfaction whatever at any time, she cried out passionately. There is only a queer, divine dissatisfaction, a blessed unrest that keeps us marching and makes us more alive than the others. Wonderful. Martha, The Life and Work of Martha Graham. That's other gems in there, but I gave you a taste. Also via the Marginalian, Zadie Smith on what writers can learn from some of history's greatest dancers. And she's an artist, and she explores in her essay, Dance Lessons for Writers, from her collection, Feel Free. So this is very interesting for us to share. I often think I've learned as much from watching dancers as I have from reading. Dance Lessons for Writers, lessons of position, attitude, rhythm, and style. Some of them obvious, some indirect. Gene Kelly quoted the commonplace when he danced, and he reminds us in turn of the grace we do sometimes possess ourselves. Fred Astaire is, quote, poetry in motion. His movements are so removed from ours that he sets a limit on our own ambitions. Nobody hopes or expects to dance like Astaire, just as nobody really expects to write like Nabokov. Writing, like dancing, is one of the arts available to people who have nothing. Quote, for 10 and 6 pence, said Virginia Woolf, one can buy paper enough to write all the plays of Shakespeare. The only absolutely necessary equipment in dance is your own body. Thank you, Zadie Smith. You might want to look up that book if that intrigues you. This dancer is a ballerino, a body of poetry and emotion, a tableau so vivant, an arabesque, an allongé, ballonné, an effacé, brisé, volé, a très grand, plus grand, jeté. This dancer, it's another one from that exhibition, Behind the Curtain. Mikhail Baryshnikov said, I do not try to dance better than anyone else. I only try to dance better than myself. Well, speaking of ballet and those pieces, I wanted to find some notes, some anecdotes to share about the marvelous 1948 film, if you've never seen it or have, The Red Shoes. It was made by Powell and Pressburger, great team, great collaborators. And RogerEbert.com gives us his view on this dark, glorious homage to dance. So here's a little bit about it. The film is voluptuous in its beauty and passionate in its storytelling. You don't watch it, you bathe in it. Yes, the ending is a shocker, but you see it coming and there's no way around it. The movie tells us a fairy tale and then repeats it as real life. It's the Hans Christian Andersen fable about a young girl who puts on a pair of red slippers that will not allow her to stop dancing. She must dance and dance in a grotesque mockery of happiness until she is dead. This is a dire subject for a ballet, you will agree. The movie surrounds it with the hard-boiled business of running a ballet company. And there's tension between the two kinds of stories in the movie, and it helps make it the most popular movie ever made about the ballet and one of the most enigmatic movies about anything. So, if you haven't seen it, you can find it. I was thinking about three or several, but in this particular case, three to share dance figures of indelible note in my book anyway. Nijinsky, Gene Kelly, and Fred Astaire, we just mentioned. Well, Nijinsky lived 1889 to 1950, said to be one of the most talented dancers in history, although he created only a handful of works, including The Rite of Spring. His mark on modern choreography is indelible. He said, I danced frightening things. They were frightened of me and therefore thought that I wanted to kill them. I did not want to kill anyone. I loved everyone, but no one loved me, and therefore I became nervous. His most popular performance was L'après-midi d'un faun, Afternoon of a Faun in 1912, which shocked audiences. Gene Kelly, 1906 to 1953. His style was a combination of tap, ballet, and modern. His style lies in athletic jumps, fierce tapping, and ability to make props dynamic using the mobility of cameras. At 14, he said, I discovered girls. At that time, dancing was the only way you could put your arm around the girl. Dancing was courtship. As you might agree, his performance in Singing in the Rain was absolutely incredible. And Fred Astaire, 1899 to 1987, it is said that you can pause an Astaire dance sequence at any moment and still get a perfect image. He said, I have no desire to prove anything by dancing. I've never used it as an outlet or a means of expressing myself. I just dance. I just put my feet in the air and move them around. His slow-motion dance in Easter Parade and the Barclays of Broadway dance were among his many highlights. So, who are your notables? Who inspires you from the past or the present around in terms of dancers? I'm curious. A few quotes about dancing I thought you would appreciate that I liked, that were great. One was George Balanchine, see the music, hear the dance. Martha Graham, dance is the hidden language of the soul. Gene Kelly also, you dance love, and you dance joy, and you dance dreams. And Maya Angelou, everything in the universe has rhythm. Everything dances. Well, questions for you, dear listeners, about dancing. What's your favorite kind of dance? Or favorite dance partner? Or favorite way of dancing, of using your body rhythmically to music playing around or maybe inside you? What are your earliest memories of learning to dance? Where were you? How old were you? How did it feel? Were you shy or bold, excited, nervous? We've heard the expression, quote, dance like no one's watching. Well, what if we flipped that around and you danced out loud? We all danced out loud with abandon, like everyone is watching, without caring what they have to say. You may find that greatly freeing, very liberating. You might want to try that. Are you dancing to a different tune in your life? To your own tune? I hope you are, or choose to. Life's far too precious not to. And isn't that what we're here for? To be the most you, me, we can be in the world. I believe so. Well, what about dance fads? I looked around on Stacker. I found some from the last 100 years, and a note about it. They said some fads reached global prominence before disappearing in a few short months or weeks, while others endured through the decades and continue to be reinvented today. Some were groundbreaking cultural revolutions that were the product of important and transformative art scenes. Others were painfully tacky and short-lived trends that were mercifully limited to a specific time and place. They have spawned entire new genres, influenced film and music, challenged social norms and traditions, horrified genteel society, and thrilled young people. They were born in jazz clubs and ballrooms in Chicago, urban dance parties in Memphis, Tennessee, country western bars in the South and Midwest, underground drag clubs in New York City, and at inner-city contests in South Central L.A. Every single one of them at one point or another compelled the masses to shake, twist, rattle, roll, swing, bump, or salsa. Well, among the, went to Wikipedia, and among the novelty and fad dances, I'm sure you'd recognize some of the names, but whether you were around or not at the time. In the mid-1800s, there was the cakewalk. In 1933, the carioca. 52, the bunny hop. 1957, the sock hop. 59, hully gully. I have no idea what that was. 1960, the shimmy. 62, the watusi. 64, the frug. 65, the Freddy. 65, the limbo. 1971, the penguin. And on it goes. Into the 80s, the moonwalk and beyond. So I thought the earlier ones were sort of more colorful sounding to me. Here's Billy Collins' poem, Nostalgia. Remember the 1340s? We were doing a dance called the catapult. You always wore brown, the color craze of the decade, and I was draped in one of those capes that were popular, the ones with unicorns and pomegranates and needlework. Everyone would pause for beer and onions in the afternoon, and at night we would play a game called Find the Cow. Everything was hand-lettered then, not like today. Where has the summer of 1572 gone? Brocade and sonnet marathons were the rage. We used to dress up in the flags of rival baronies and conquer one another in cold rooms of stone. Out on the dance floor, we were all doing the struggle, while your sister practiced the Daphne all alone in her room. We borrowed the jargon of farriers for our slang. These days, language seems transparent, a badly broken code. The 1790s will never come again. Childhood was big. People would take walks to the very tops of hills and write down what they saw in their journals without speaking. Our collars were high and our hats were extremely soft. We would surprise each other with alphabets made of twigs. It was a wonderful time to be alive, or even dead. I'm very fond of the period between 1815 and 1821. Europe trembled while we sat still for our portraits, and I would love to return to 1901, if only for a moment, time enough to wind up a music box and do a few dance steps, or shoot me back to 1922 or 41, or at least let me recapture the serenity of last month when we picked berries and glided through afternoons in a canoe. Even this morning would be an improvement over the present. I was in the garden then, surrounded by the hum of bees and the Latin names of flowers, watching the early light flash off the slanted windows of the greenhouse and silver the limbs on the rows of dark hemlocks. As usual, I was thinking about the moments of the past, letting my memory rush over them like water rushing over the stones on the bottom of a stream. I was even thinking a little about the future, that place where people are doing a dance we cannot imagine, a dance whose name we can only guess. Thank you, Billy Collins. Nostalgia. David Wagner, the fan dance. I was 7 and Sally Rand wasn't wearing anything. She was up there dancing with 2 quivery pink fans like ostrich wings, and she was holding one around in back of her and the other in front of some of her, but was taking turns switching them back and forth as she peeked out like a bird who'd lost her feathers but had found some others and wasn't quite sure where or how to put them on. Did they belong here or there? But they wouldn't stay there or here while she was turning in slow circles to violins, and if you were quick, you could see through the rosy light something like one breast from halfway behind and half a rose pink behind before another side of another breast, and the other half behind had come around to disappear at the rosier pink ends of feathers. And then she was gone, off stage, and my small mother was leading me and my big rosy-faced father up the aisle and out together onto the midway of the century of progress and saying, "I don't think David should have seen that," and my father with his head down saying, "It was rather suggestive," and I, who hadn't suggested anything, ate Jack Armstrong candy in the back seat with my Buck Rogers ray gun going zap and zap, zap, zap all the way home. Thank you, David Wagner. Wagoner. The Man with the 10-Gallon Heart. This was a poem from my friend Barbara Ann Michaels around a story she told me about this experience, and I imagined how it went. The man with the 10-gallon heart, who stood before you in the old dance hall, 10-gallon hat over his gallant cowboy heart, signaling a courtly invitation to Texas two-step together, a Western gesture you were quietly surprised by, still touched by, in that yellow rose place on that Lone Star night, all the way through other slow and fast country dances, till he returned you to the table of your leading man and placed his hat one last time, without words, over his grateful heart, and ever so gently and so gentlemanly departed. The Man with the 10-Gallon Heart. It's a poem from Berlin, March 2015, The Old Victrola. When you were young, what songs blossomed from the golden flower of your mouth? What music floated out when the silver needle fell, when the sitters, the dancers tilted their ears, their bodies in the long room leavened like now, with March light ladling in through these near and far French doors, onto the blonde wood floors, the dove-gray walls, onto their bare calves, their soft hands. The Old Victrola. Here's one other from that time, from Berlin, from Germany, spring of 2015. I was visiting friends and meeting this other vintage instrument in their drawing room, the silver-eared Sousaphone. It sits stoutly, surely, so quietly now, listening with one immense ear that drinks in the loudest to the faintest sounds, the clatter of cutlery, conversation, the clink of glasses, thunder, rain, rustling leaves, which travel nautilously down its diminishing silver tube tarnished by time, weather, and generations of musicians' blowing lips, pressing fingers, that made this great ear a once great mouth, maybe sousaphoning rousing marches up north, or somber to spry funerals down south, masked Venetian carnivals, gypsy dances in wild, firelit forests. It's a poem from Vieques, island off of Puerto Rico, a New Year's Eve, the eve of the new millennium. And it's called Blue at New Year's. Long lashes of tinsel fall pinkly round the bar. Silver stars spark forth from the crystal ball, turning to old dance tunes. The dining room is set with flair, where a beaded chandelier rainbows the eyes. Ladies wear bright feathers in their hair, while revelers play glass flutes of champagne, and a colored rain of confetti wets the floor. The father time clock chimes toward the new year, and you, my beauteous black and gold princess, are near. Blue at New Year's. And what memorable times, dear listeners, have you had dancing somewhere magical with someone beautiful to you. Poem from New York City, 2001. After closing. After closing, when all the customers have left and all the chairs sit upside down on the tabletops and the ovens in the kitchen have cooled off, 2 chefs, still in their tall white toques, tunics, and long pants, step without words into the small, low-lit dining room, one to sit at the piano by the Dijon-colored wall, the other, as nimble fingers begin to fall on the keys, to take the hand and waist of the last waitress in her white-aproned black dress and dance together after closing. Rumba for piano and ukulele from Molly McBride and Errico Cardoso. Let's be sensuous, bend our knees, sway our hips, flirt barefoot across the floor in 4/4 time, eyes on half-closed eyes, half-parted lips, quick, quick, slow, side to side. Para Cardoso me voy, vas, vamos. Saraband is the title of a Renaissance dance, and this poem also for a friend of mine named Sarah Court Minard, for her then 48th birthday back in 2019. You are the dancer, le danseur, la danseuse, through this life's ever-unfolding dance, through all its movements, enchantments, harmonic moments, from the lively to the courtly and most courtly, and all its various rearrangements, listening ever carefully as you turn and glide with a spirited mind and body, rhythming ever soulfully as you dance through your days and your dreams, your questions and your passions, your places of beauty, of desire, of pure being and possibility. How, my friends, are you dancing through your life? That was my earlier question, but I will reframe that again. Dancing through your life or yourself, or into your becomings, into your future. And let's not forget, of course, again, coming back from the beginning to the beautiful to see how nature dances, how the elements dance and other things dance, the pairings like sunlight on water. Wonderful to pause often and not just see but feel into that, dance with that. This is a wild invitation to dance. The Lewontica Brook Reservation, Convent Station, New Jersey, late October 2016. The autumn wind is having its way today, boistering around the pond, affirming its ability to not just rustle the curling cattail grasses and quiver the skin of the water, but bend the broad limbs of all the trees, young and old, from the widest to the tallest and stateliest oaks and elms that have stood gracefully here for generations, and move entire mountains and masses of clouds through the Watteau blue sky. The land knows the wind, maybe loves it on days like this, as a way to make music, as a wild invitation, a fresh chance to sway, to dance. Now, what about just the joy of things like rain, the water music of rain to syncopate with? Tonight, a rumba of rain and wind to dance into sleep and dreaming with. From the old Dodge Estate, Madison, New Jersey, 1 September, a poem made in the moment, as most of mine are, this one watching nature so naturally dance. La danse des libellules, dance of the dragonflies. A corps de ballet de campagne. They dance with abandon and precision by the hundreds, over the waving stage of goldenrod and rust-red switchgrass, over the milkweed and pale blue chicory blossoms for an open-air audience of one quietly passionate praiser of nature. If we and you looked about through the prism of dance-like movement, how would things appear? Give that a try. This is from Santa Fe, New Mexico, poem Apodaca Hill. I follow the dancing ball moon over the rolling waves of red earth, listening to the chorus of crickets, coyotes, and stars, savoring as they sing the scents of pinon and cedar, of sweet juniper cracking in the fire where we sit together in big sky silence, sharing the company of clouds, long, luminous, and still, contemplating us, contemplating them. This is a poem from, and a reverie from taking in a summer orchard at a place called Sunnybrook, West Brookfield, Massachusetts, 1999, in June, month we're in. 3 green graces. 3 ancient apple trees dance in the midday breeze sweeping over the lawn and lift their summer skirts to show us silver linings. 3 green graces, long limbs sculpted by seasons of country time, joined in a circle, offering their lovely shapes and still lush tresses and centuries of fruitfulness. The Accordion Song is something I composed back in 2001 for a great English accordionist fellow, Tony Compton. The accordion, the bellows of jaunty old French and Italian fellows, conjuring up left bank cafes, smiling with lovers and handsome roués, breezy nights under striped awnings, soft candlelights, old world days we imagine living in, drinking in, days of berets and gay Parisians, of Fellini-filmed Romans and sun-skinned Sicilians, dancing days long gone but suddenly recalled by the sweet and carefree breathing of an old accordion song. Well, I will tell you, if you don't already know, that I'm a great lover of slow dancing, the intimacy of it, the languid sensuality, even contemplating of it conjures up. This is called sit back. Run yourself a bath. While it's running, pour yourself a drink, a smooth vino rosso or other aperitivo. Put on Coleman Hawkins or Russ Columbo. Have a slow dance with your partner or a slow kiss. Slip out of your clothes, into your bath. Sit back. Close your eyes. Let your breath flow, your body float. Your cares and concerns dissolve in the warm and languid waters. Well, after I chose that poem, I came across The Love Cook by Ron Padgett. Let me cook you some dinner. Sit down and take off your shoes and socks and, in fact, the rest of your clothes. Have a daiquiri. Turn on some music and dance around the house, inside and out. It's night and the neighbors are sleeping, those dolts, and the stars are shining bright, and I've got the burners lit for you, you hungry thing. Thank you, Ron Padgett, The Love Cook. I thought as I was gathering material about the lyrics for Leonard Cohen's song, he was a good poet, I thought, and certainly singer of his work. And this is Dance Me to the End of Love. You must know this or may know it. It's certainly a song. I'm not going to sing it, but I'll read you some of the lines. Dance me to your beauty with a burning violin. Dance me through the panic till I'm gathered safely in. Lift me like an olive branch and be my homeward dove. Dance me to the end of love. Oh, let me see your beauty when the witnesses are gone. Let me feel you moving like they do in Babylon. Show me slowly what I only know the limits of. Dance me to the end of love. Dance me to the wedding now. Dance me on and on. Dance me very tenderly and dance me very long. We're both of us beneath our love. We're both of us above. Dance me to the end of love. Dance me to the children who are asking to be born. Dance me through the curtains that our kisses have outworn. Raise a tent of shelter now, though every thread is torn. Dance me to the end of love. Dance me to your beauty with a burning violin. Dance me through the panic till I'm gathered safely in. Touch me with your naked hand or touch me with your glove. Dance me to the end of love. Thank you, Leonard Cohen. Well, I believe in spontaneity, as many of you would know or may come to know. And back in Amsterdam, I used to go off and visit friends there, and they likewise back to New York when I was living there. This is from 1998. It was for Herma Krabbe, and it was inspired by an experience of having dinner with her and her husband, Jeroen, and my wonderful and artist friend, their son, Jasper Krabbe, at their house, and my Dutch friends. And this song came on, and I just got up and I asked Herma to dance. I was just moved on the spur to do that. And it was under a portrait of her father. And so this poem is called Twee Schwarzen Dansen. Only your father wears a hat in the kitchen at Van Egenstraat, smiling on the scene, a sudden dance of aprons. You and your Provençal yellow, your fellow in his sea blues and greens, smoothing together into a luscious piano played by an old beauty down in Havana on this smiling night in June. And here's a poem for dear friends on the West Coast out in San Francisco, Rachel and Douglas Phillips. This was on their 19th anniversary, and it's called May I Have This Dance. Each year, each day, you say, in words or without words, to each other, and take another turn, dip, twirl on life's dance floor, arms gently, knowingly, assuringly around each other, eyes gazing openly, tenderly upon the other, as the deeper music of your worlds, your beating hearts, plays, as you move together, freely glide and lead and follow, dance together in every present, into any future. It's a poem by Joel Diaz-Porter, Turning the Tables. First hold the needle like a lover's hand. Lower it slowly, let it tongue the record's ear, then cultivate the sweet beats blooming in the valley of the groove. Laugh at folks that make requests. What chef would let the diners determine which entrees make up the menu? Young boys think it's about flashy flicks of the wrist, but it's all about filling the floor with the manic language of dance, about knowing the beat of every record like a mama knows her child's cries. Nobody cares how fast you scratch, 'cause it ain't about soothing any itch. It's about how many hairstyles are still standing at the end of the night. Thank you, Joel Diaz-Porter. Heart and Root, one of mine. By heart and root is how, however unseen by others or in our own mirrors we move, want to move, can move, through the world, through the days, the dances of life, love, work, wondering, with our hearts wildly open, reaching up into the light, with our roots wildly free, reaching down into our earths, to all the places where we're deeply touched and nourished, where we can grow into our fullness, soothe our sorrows, heal our woundedness, where we can flow with such great aliveness. Flies Buzzing by Mark Turcotte. Opens with a line by Patti Smith, somewhere in America in a certain state of grace. As a child, I danced to the heartful, savage rhythm of the native, the American Indian in the Turtle Mountains, in the round hall, in the greasy light of kerosene lamps. As a child, I danced among the long jangle legs of the men, down beside the whispering moccasin women, in close circles around the old ones who sat at the drum, their heads tossed, backs arched in ancient prayer. As a child, I danced away from the fist. I danced toward the rhythms of life. I danced into dreams, into the sounds of flies buzzing. A deer advancing but clinging to the forest wall. The old red woman rocking in her tattered shawl. The young women bent, breasts drooping to the mouths of their young. The heat hanging heavy on the tips of our tongues until the sun burned the sky black. The moon made us silvery blue, and all of the night sounds folded together with the buzzing still in our heads, becoming a chant of ghosts, of Crazy Horse and Wavoka, and all the endless others, snaking through the weaving, through the trees like beams of ribbons of light, singing, "We shall live again, we shall live." Until the sun and the sun and the sun and I awaken, still a child, still dancing toward the rhythm of life. Thank you, Mark Turcotte. Flies buzzing from his collection, The Feathered Heart, 1998. It's our last handful now. The Message of Crazy Horse by Lucille Clifton. I would sit in the center of the world. The black hills hooped around me and dream of my dancing horse. My wife was Black Shawl, who gave me the daughter I called They Are Afraid of Her. I was afraid of nothing except Black Buffalo Woman. My love for her I wore instead of feathers. I did not dance. I dreamed. I am dreaming now across the worlds. My medicine is strong. My medicine is strong in the black basket of these fingers. I come again through this Black Buffalo Woman. Hear me. The hoop of the world is breaking. Fire burns in the four directions. The dreamers are running away from the hills. I have seen it. I am Crazy Horse. The Message of Crazy Horse. Thank you, Lucille Clifton. Theodore Roethke. The Waking. I wake to sleep and take my waking slow. I feel my fate in what I cannot fear. I learn by going where I have to go. We think by feeling. What is there to know? I hear my being dance from ear to ear. I wake to sleep and take my waking slow. Of those so close beside me, which are you? God bless the ground. I shall walk softly there and learn by going where I have to go. Light takes the tree, but who can tell us how? The lowly worm climbs up a winding stair. I wake to sleep and take my waking slow. Great nature has another thing to do to you and me, so take the lively air and lovely learn by going where to go. This shaking keeps me steady. I should know. What falls away is always, and is near. I wake to sleep and take my waking slow. I learn by going where I have to go. Thank you, Goedecke. Thank you for that. And near to last, and also in honor of our just arrived summer solstice yesterday and start of summer in this hemisphere, bring yourself to this day. This solstice day, regenerous day, of new summering, good naturing, the sun so greatly lengthening, the trees so freely dancing in ever deeper, ever greener ecstasies, the clouds caressing the open skies and dotting the eyes of sailors and mountaineers, painters and sonneteers, the waters of lakes and rivers, firths and fjords, bays and sounds, clear and mirroring. Bring yourself, your whole nature, bodily, spiritly, as bountifully, to this day of balance and beauty, dalliance and euphony between the boundless heavens and the returning earth, with a lightening heart and long, lengthening breath. Praise the dance of self, of life, of time, of the timeless, the dance of our beings, the dance and dances of nature, all the invitations we have to join these dances. This is a poem from Bridgehampton, May 2001, The Linden Tree, for Lewis and Amanda Berman. A bountiful hoop skirt that cascades down around the low-cut lawn, a glossy ballroom floor of grass where white irises confederate like courtly old colonels, and blushing young river birches flutter in the shade, waiting for guests to breeze through the gate and join the sun-lit garden party. The Linden Tree. And last for now, in our time, gliding across this dance floor of a kind, on this dance card of a kind, together. When you're flowing, when your heart is full, when your senses are open to all that's inside and out, when you're singing your life song, dancing your life dance, wild and free, to music only you can once in this lifetime make, everything is poetry. Thank you again for leaning in, listening, and feeling in, and for your appreciations from sharing these shows with others to commenting to contributing. If you'd like to offer a thought, compliment, or question, I'd be glad to hear from you. My email is colin@thepoetorialist.com. To express thanks with a donation, you can contribute easily by Venmo to Fivefold, FIVEFOLD, at pipeline.com, or by PayPal, or directly through my site, thepoetorialist.com, and the Donate tab, or simply by mail to me at P.O. Box 1032, Westerly, Rhode Island, 02891. Patrons can, at times, host me as a working artist, a poet in residence on a given property for a given time, later this summer, autumn, or winter, to create a new flight of poetic art and dedicate it to them. If that's you, email me, and we can discuss the possibilities. I also serve at times as a virtual artist in residence, a poetic presence for an online community. Meanwhile, you can hear all the broadcasts online on YouTube on the Floating Poetry playlist. I hope you'll lean in soon again. Until then, dear listeners, let's dance often through our days and lives, shall we? With verve, with grace, with ease, with great abandon. Goodbye for now, and good spirits.